Hello, so welcome to Cadmium Reads again. I know it's been a long time since I've uploaded a video, but I'm back. And hopefully, I'll be uploading somewhat consistently after this. No promises though, because it is a little bit of a peak of the assignment season in my university. But nonetheless, I would love to keep on creating content. But in today's video specifically, I am going to be comparing two e-readers. And on the left, we have the Kindle Basic from 2019, or the Amazon Kindle 10th Gen, and we have the Kindle Paperwhite from 2021, or the Kindle Paperwhite 11th generation. So what I hope that you guys can see from this video, I guess, is more of like a perspective of a reader, instead of just going over technical details, which I will be going through that, but I also will like to bring some of my experiences with these individual devices and maybe convince you to get a e-reader yourself, if it's a Kindle or not. So a little bit of a background here is that I did just got the Kindle Paperwhite. This is the, again, 2021 edition, and I just got it a few days ago. It's an upgrade from this Kindle 2019 edition. This is not mine actually, this is my sister's, but I had the exact same model but in white, which I've now like passed it over to my partner, so he's using that, and I'm using the Paperwhite, but I have been using my specific Kindle 10th Gen for about 3 years since I got it back in 2019. And so if you're like me, I was reading a lot on that Kindle, maybe more of upwards of 30 minutes a day, and I've been seeing reviews, posts on Reddit of the new Kindle, and it was very enticing back in 2021, but I didn't cave in, but I finally saved up enough and I got the new Paperwhite. So let's compare a little bit of the two devices. The first really apparent thing that you can see right now is that the sizes are actually different. So the left is definitely a lot smaller, and the right is larger. It is a 0.8 inch increment on the right, and this is just 6 inch, so this is 6.8 inch. But it does affect the amount of text that you get to read on one page significantly. And for me, that is pretty beneficial because you don't really have to flip the pages bunch of times just to get to the next page. But it is a little bit of a nitpick, and a bunch of people do like the standard 6-inch screen because it is again smaller, so that means it's more portable. Another thing that you can see is that the bezels on the left are not flushed. There's a little bit of an indentation, if you can see from here, and the con of this is that dust can get in between these fairly easily, and they are pretty hard to clean. So that's something that you should take note of. This is also apparent in the newest basic Kindle, which just came out, if I'm not mistaken, this year. But the Kindle Paperwhite is completely flush, so it's flat, just like maybe a new phone or a iPad screen. There's no indentation, and if that's something that you like, then you should definitely get a Paperwhite. Another thing is that with the bezel, it is definitely easier to hold one hand. It is a little bit slippery on the Paperwhite, but it's possible to still hold it. Fingerprints are very apparent on the Paperwhites, a lot more so compared to this one. I've noticed the surface is a little bit more smoother. I don't really know how I can explain it, but it feels like a different coating entirely from the one on the left, or the Paperwhite, the regular Kindle. So that's one of the main differences, the screen sizes and the difference in bezel type. The next thing that you can notice is that they have a pretty different material. The Paperwhite has somewhat of a slightly rubberized feel to it, whereas the regular Kindle just have a plasticky feel. It feels a little bit more hollow compared to the Paperwhite, but both are fairly light. I don't think this should pose too much of a problem when it comes to weight, because it's significantly lighter than like something like a tablet or an iPad. But that is that. We also have a charging port, both on a very similar location, honestly, which is the bottom. Sorry, the focus is going crazy now. Oops. The charging ports are both at the bottom, as you can see. So the thing about 2019 Kindle is that it uses a micro USB port, but the new Kindle does use a USB-C, so that's a lot more convenient now. Both of them have the same power button locations at the bottom of the Kindle, and both of them come with the LEDs, as you can see when you press them. So now you can see that the devices are both booted up. I apologize that I do not have the same book to compare the two screens with, but here it is. We can see a little bit of glare in both of them. That's just a random thing, but yeah. So both of these devices, honestly, when it comes to the reading experience, they're pretty similar. There is some, quality of life improvement, I guess you could say, in the new Paperwhite, but I definitely would say that they are not needed. The first thing that I would say that is pretty a significant jump for me is the pixels per inch that you get on the Paperwhite compared to the old Kindle. So something that you have to take note of when you're buying your e-readers or even phones or iPads is the pixels per inch that they have. On this one, it is only 167, and I think it's 167. Yes, 167, whereas this one is 300 ppi, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the highest that you can possibly get in the e-ink industry right now. So essentially that means that text will appear a lot more crisp. My camera does not make it very apparent, but text will look clearer on the Paperwhite, even in smaller fonts. So for me, I do realize that I can go on a smaller font on my Paperwhite, but when I do jump into smaller fonts on the regular Kindle, I feel like I'm more prone to notice the pixels. They look a little more grainy to me. So that's one of the things that you gotta take note of. Another thing is that both of these have backlights, but they are pretty different because the regular Kindle has 4 LEDs, whereas the Paperwhite that I have right now is 17, and the Paperwhite does have a warm light. So let me just show you how they both look brightest. So from the camera you can't really see the difference, but this one is definitely more uniform, a more uniform lighting. This one is still bright, very much usable, but when you do turn off your lights in the dark, you can see like exactly where the LEDs are positioned, and for this one you don't really notice it. And there is also a warm light. As you can see, it can go pretty warm, very orangey, and this can help with your sleep. So I usually just leave it around here, and I put on a automatic schedule, so it'll turn itself on at a specific time. So that's something you can do on your Paperwhite. Another thing that you can do on the Paperwhite that you can't do on the regular Kindle is dark mode. So a lot of people that I know, they like to read in dark mode, which I'm not really sure why, which is basically just inverting the colors. Instead of a white background, you get a black background with white text. So as you can see now, that's working. If you really have to read with this setting, then you have no choice but to get the Paperwhite. So yes. Okay, so now moving on to like the battery life. I noticed that for me, I charge my regular Kindle about once a week or 1.5 weeks. After 3 years of usage, it's supposed to last up to 4 weeks. I believe that could be possible if you don't read that much a day, and you keep the lighting pretty low. But in general, I would say the battery for both of these are pretty good. I don't really know much how this would last with my usage on the Kindle Paperwhite, but it promises that you should be getting about 10 weeks of battery life. I think that's a little bit overboard. I would be happy if my Paperwhite could last more than 2 weeks or just 2 weeks. It's still a whole lot longer than our phones and tablets anyways. So yeah. Okay, so now that I think I've covered most of the hardware aspects and the differences that come along with the two Kindles. Why do I read with an e-reader? Or why you should read on an e-reader? It's definitely because of convenience. These devices are really small, so compared to a regular book, you can probably fit this anywhere, and they're very thin, and I definitely feel like I'm more motivated to finish a thick book or a longer book on my Kindle because I don't have the illusion of having like a really thick or a large amount of pages to finish. There are a lot of factors like font sizes. I do not like a lot of books that print books that come with very tiny fonts because they want to save cost, and that is not an issue for your Kindle because it goes up to really big font. You could give it to your grandma to read if you want to give a gift for them. It's definitely very useful if you have any visibility issues. Both of these, you can change your font sizes. Another thing that does help, makes it really convenient, is that you can use the dictionary in these devices. So you just hold down a word and you can read the definitions very conveniently. And if you have the Wi-Fi turned on, which I do not, you can look up that specific thing on Wikipedia, as well as get a translation using Google Translate, if I'm not mistaken. So that's one of the features that is very useful. You can also highlight passages. Sorry, I can't really see where the sentence end there, but you can highlight these and take notes. One thing again about the e-ink screens is that they are pretty slow, so typing on these, not the best experience because they have a pretty low refresh rate, but it's definitely possible. So the keyboard, so you can just take a note there, and it'll appear in another file called the clippings file over in the library in your home screen. So you get to have access to your highlights and your entire notes that you take from a specific book. So you can very easily again change settings. This is the font that I'm using called Char Ink. It's a custom font made by someone on Mobile Read, and it's one of my favorite fonts. But yeah, there are other fonts that come standardized with your Kindle, like Bookerly, Futura, Amazon Amber, but again, you can get your own fonts into the Kindle. So those are some of the settings. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that there is some other minor stuff that you can change, like your margins. If you for some reason want to read it really narrowly, not sure why you would do that and not utilize all the space that you have. You can also change the spacing between the text. So if you want to fit as much text as you can in between lines, that is something you can do. Or if you want like really big spacing to maybe read it easier, that's also okay, but usually I just keep it in the medium size. So both of these, they have the same exact settings, as you can see. You can also change the orientation on both of these. I rarely read them in any other orientation besides vertical, just because I feel like my attention is better when it's in a vertical orientation. Let me just quickly switch this back. But yeah, this is in general, I think, a simple overview, a simple comparison between these two devices. Would I say you should upgrade from the 2019 model to the Paperwhite 2021 if you have this one right now? Definitely, if you would like to have the bigger screen, I think that is one of the considering factors. Another thing that I do notice is that the warm light is pretty useful, especially if you read a lot at night. And overall, I just feel like it was a jump from this to this. The speed of this device is definitely slightly faster. I wouldn't say it's a really big difference, but I do notice that typing, highlighting, and just navigating the UI is a lot quicker on the Paperwhite. So this is just a random note, is that if you are looking for the Paperwhite 2021, you should try and purchase the Paperwhite kits. The Paperwhite kits sounds like definitely a better deal to me. I got this one for 492 ringgit, and this one for 300 something, 350-ish, 3 years ago. And for the Kindle Paperwhite, at least, a regular Kindle Paperwhite with ads and no case that comes with it is around 500 ringgit. So it is like a 10 to 20 ringgit difference, but it just doesn't make sense why you would get the regular Kindle Paperwhite with ads and no case, when if you do get the Paperwhite 2021 kids edition, you have the choice of getting a case, which is very dust attracting, honestly, but you do get a case that comes like directly in the box with the Kindle pasted into it, right here. If I'm not mistaken, there's two other designs, very colorful ones, but the Kindle is exactly the same. All you have to do is leave the kids mode and you have a regular functioning Kindle, which can display book covers instead of ads, as you can see. Whereas a Kindle with not paid ads, with the ads, when you open your Kindle, you're gonna have like a screen with advertisements, and you don't get a case. So again, it just makes sense that you would buy the kids edition. There is an extra step for you to leave the Amazon Kids, but that will probably take a minute at most. So yeah, I'm very happy about my purchase decision. So although I really do enjoy this Kindle Basic, I think that the Kindle Paperwhite right now is a pretty good investment, considering that I do read almost every day, and the Basic is getting use from my partner anyways, so I'm not just letting it collect dust somewhere in the wardrobe. I'm planning to make some other e-reader related videos in the future, sometime. I'm not sure when yet, but if you do have any questions regarding the Kindle, I know I didn't really touch on purchasing books, sideloading books. Can you read PDFs? Can you read comics? All those other questions. Please do leave those in the comment section. I'm sorry if I stumbled once in a while and repeated a lot of things. I do not have a script. This was just a very quick, spontaneous video when I have the time. But I hope you guys enjoyed the little video. Again, please do let me know if you have any questions regarding the Kindles or just reading anything really. I'm just gonna place these back in the case. So yeah, this is my sister's. This is mine. You can see the size comparisons. I'm really sorry if you can't really exactly see them, but there's like a marginal size difference here. Okay, maybe this might help. So yeah, it's substantially larger now that I'm looking at it like back to back. Okay, there you go. It's more balanced. There it is. Last thing that we should probably mention is that the Paperwhite is slightly heavier. I mean, obviously, right, it is bigger than the basic, but if that's something of a consideration, there's that. The Paperwhite is heavier. But yeah, that is all for today's video. Apologize if it's a little bit too long, and if I got rambly again, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, hit me up with any questions, and I shall talk to you guys later.